Welcome to the Cutting Edge Convention, a worldwide movement to revolutionize your life. No more stumbling around in the dark, wasting precious weeks, months, and years trying to figure it out on your own. Get ready for valuable innovations and strategies. And now, here's your host, Marcy Peters, the Age Backward Mentor.
Hello and welcome back to the Cutting Edge Conventions, innovations to revolutionize your life. I'm your host, Marcy Peters, the Age Backward Mentor. I help smart, successful men and women just like you step into a life they love and a body they love being in. And today we're speaking of being in a body you love being in, we're talking about metabolisms and hormones. This is such an important topic because it affects absolutely everything, and that's what we'll be discussing. So today I have Dr. Natasha with us, and let me tell you about Dr. Natasha Iyer. She is an MD. She has dedicated her life to helping you feel and look younger, combining the science of hormone rebalancing and regenerative medicine for maximum results. Having worked in women's health and obstetrics for over 8 years, Dr. Iyer understands women and their challenges. She knew something was missing in the traditional medical model, which left most women feeling less than best, regardless of the treatment. She has created her own approach to feeling and looking younger from the inside out. Dr. Natasha, welcome to the Cutting Edge Convention.
Hi, Marcy, and thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm delighted to have you here. You're here from Canada, so we appreciate that international flair. And so today we're talking 7 steps to maximize your metabolism. So let's first talk about what are the different pieces of a healthy metabolism or any metabolism?
Marcy, that's a great question. And before we start that, let's talk about hormones themselves and what are they? Because if we miss that piece, we're not going to make sense of the next many steps.
Okay.
Now, I know, and I've been a physician for over 21 years and just tried and dabbled in different areas until I found my passion and my calling. And I can tell you that hormones are the least understood in all of medicine. And every day I get patients coming to see me saying, I have thyroid hormone trouble. That's why I'm fat. That's why I'm cold. And today I saw 2 patients with normal levels, perfectly normal levels, even by my standards. And so the question became, what's going on? And I'm certain that for the men and women listening here, they all know how it feels to feel awesome and then to lose that feeling of awesomeness. Hormones are chemical messengers that control every function in your body, whether it is your metabolism, your energy, your sex drive, your mood, your memory, your mental agility and sharpness. It doesn't matter what it is. Your heart rate, your blood pressure, your blood sugar levels, all controlled and regulated by these critical messengers called hormones. And hormones, being chemical messengers, work through your body's biochemistry. You make hormones in your body's biochemistry and you use them within your biochemistry. That makes your biochemistry more critical than hormones themselves. Because like my 2 patients today, they have hormones, they just cannot use them. They have all the symptoms of hormone deficiency, but their tests are all normal. And that's frustrating for patients. In fact, when I switched out of the traditional medical model over 10 years ago, I would say to patients, I left medicine because I was effed, fatigued, fat, frazzled, foggy, forgetful, and then frustrated that my tests were all normal, but I couldn't find a solution medically to feeling better. I was dieting, I was exercising, I counted every calorie, and nothing worked. So today we're going through these 7 steps because almost everyone has that experience. They feel like they have hormone trouble, but they get told that their tests are all normal, and they're looking for answers. And I met a lady today and she said, I have tried every diet known to womankind. Your process is the first thing that works. It gives me some hope that I'm going to get results. And then my next patient said, it's been 17 days. It's only 5 pounds because I went to Mexico in between. But I made great choices and I'm still down 5 pounds. I didn't go up. And so here's what happens when you understand what hormones are, how they work, what blocks them, how to maximize your hormone balance. And then you get maximum results that last so that you're not this chronic yo-yo dieter, because that's what people are frustrated with. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then we find that as we get older, my average patient is older than 40. So we're F and 40 or 50 and above, right? And we're frustrated because hormones change more rapidly after we pass our 30s.
Yeah.
So hormones are critical. They control your metabolism. They work in your body's biochemistry. And what we want to understand is, what is this biochemistry and what affects it? Because we make hormones from our biochemistry. And we use them in there. So think of your hormones, Marcy, and all of you listening and watching, as a mechanism of a lock and a key. So the hormone is the key, and every cell in your body has hormone receptors. So we have a receptor on a cell site, and along comes the hormone, and it says, burn fat, make energy, think clearly, have a sharper memory or mood, or whatever it is. And if something comes along and gets in the way of the hormone receptor, now the hormone cannot do its work. So today, my 2 patients who, not just the regular medical screening, we in traditional medical models run a TSH for thyroid testing, and then it's normal, and we say, oh, you're fine. We don't say, where in the range are you? Is it maximum? Is it optimal? Are you on the low end or the high end? In fact, TSH is just your brain thermostat. It doesn't tell you about the actual hormones you can use. But both these patients today had perfect, optimal levels of free T3 and free T4, and yet they felt low in their thyroid. They had cold hands and feet, dry hair, skin, and nails, hair falling off, constipation, and the big one, resistant weight gain. One of them said, I can just look at food and grow. I don't have to eat it. I just have to think about it and I grow, right? And then every diet known to womankind has not worked for her. So what is it? There's something in the way of the receptor. The hormone comes along and it cannot say to the cell receptor, make energy, burn fat, right? So this is going on in the biochemistry. So what are some of the things that can affect a body's biochemistry? Let's think about it. The most common, obvious one people tell me is food, and that's absolutely accurate. Food has herbicides, pesticides, chemicals, preservatives, colorants, waxes. I mean, just read labels. You cannot even pronounce any of those things, right? So I say to patients, if you believe in God, then how God made it. If you believe in Mother Nature, then how did Mother Nature grow it? If it looks like it came from Mother Nature and God, eat it. If it doesn't look like that, avoid it. Now, some people get a little bit upset, and today someone said, you mean I'll never eat pizza again? And I said, not never, just not for now while we're figuring things out. So your food has to be critical because it's fuel for your body. It's fuel to make hormones, and it's fuel for your body's biochemistry to be optimal. It's your nutrient stores from which you will feed your biochemistry and make hormones. So food is something that affects your body's biochemistry. Go for organic, go for low pesticide residue. Know what your environmental working group work is showing you about the 12 most toxic fruit and vegetables in North America right now. Those are really critical. avoid GMO. Next thing, we're all in a world of convenience. I say to my patients, you know, when I was in high school, and I'll date myself knowing that I'm from South Africa and we're a little behind at the time, but we didn't even have computers in our school when I was in high school. You know, we didn't have cell phones. We had TV, but when I was 5 years old, there was an hour of TV or 2 hours of TV a day. Now we have multiple channels. We have remote control this. We can watch TV on an iPhone. None of this existed. And that's just in our lifetime. We have so much more technology, chemicals, and other things in the world today. And we don't stop and think about what this means. You know, and I could talk to you for hours and days, but we're limited in our time. But everything from electromagnetic fields to radiation, you know, all of these things that we can't see and touch, but they affect our biochemistry and how our bodies can work.
Yeah.
So think about all of these things that have advanced. And here I am sitting in an office that's just being renovated. And so outside of me, there's paint fumes. And think about all of us living in newer homes, or those of us that like to renovate homes. And there's off-gassing of all kinds of chemicals and solvents and things. That these affect your body's biochemistry. One very critical thing about fat. Your body makes fat to wall off and store toxins once they reach a certain point. I had a patient really upset at me today. She said, well, why was I doing all of this before? And I was skinny and I had great sex drive and everything worked. And now you're telling me that I can't do all these things. Well, why? And I said, well, let's think about it. It's called your tipping point, and everyone has a different tipping point. When I send you your free gift, because I know I'm going to run out of time to explain everything, I've got an ebook, but there'll be video links in there so I can draw you diagrams and show you this tipping point even more clearly. But everybody has a different tipping point where what they're doing is not working anymore, and they need to do something different to get the results that they're looking for.
Agreed.
So we have your biochemistry, all of these things. So your environment, the environment inside your home, outside your home, your work environment, you're driving your car, you're filling gasoline, that's all your environment. And everything you breathe in gets into your biochemistry. Think about home cleaning. I mean, we use a different chemical to clean the toilets, one to wash the sink, one to wash the dishes, one to wash your hands, one to wash your, like, there's a chemical for everything. And how often are we wearing gloves and masks when we're using them? Almost never. Everything you touch gets into your body's biochemistry. So go clean, go green. And my preference for home cleaning is what? Vinegar, baking soda, a bit of tea tree oil, some borax, you know, the basics. They work. That's what we use in our home. And, you know, and people look at me and they go, oh, look at you. You're just a little thing. I used to be 5 sizes bigger than I am today. And I struggled. You know, I was 5 sizes bigger, exercising, doing kickboxing and Pilates, and you name it, I did it. I'd run on the treadmill every morning. I counted every calorie, and the inches and the weight did not change. In fact, they went up. Now, will you continue doing something that theoretically works, but you're not seeing any results? I don't know anyone who would do that.
Right.
So I figured I just might as well have chocolate cake for breakfast because I love that stuff. And so if what I'm doing is not working, let me just do whatever I want to anyway. And so I think a lot of people can identify with this. And that's why I wanted to start with what is a hormone and how does it work? Because if we miss this step, the rest of it matters not at all. understanding that a biochemistry that's filled with toxins gets you to your tipping point. I mean, combined with stress and genetics and all the other things I teach my patients. I mean, we have to always, and I will get to it, we work with the food sensitivities and the leaky gut and all of these things because they're so critical. And then your genes and how they affect your liver function and your cytochrome enzyme systems and all of those things. But there's no point in getting to all of that stuff if we just don't know what is this foundationally.
Okay.
So a hormone, and then what blocks it from being made and what stops it from being used. So back to all the things that block it. Now I'm looking at your beautiful face, and if I may, talk about you.
Sure.
So you're wearing lipstick.
Yes.
And you have eye makeup on.
Mm-hmm.
And you've colored your hair.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you have face cream on.
Yes.
I bet you have body cream on.
I have coconut oil on.
Okay, great for you. Now, most people say, I use something all natural, and I ask them to bring it in other than coconut oil, which I recommend. I say from here down, use coconut oil. That's perfect. But then I had a post on one of our Facebook pages about lipstick, depending on which company, has lead particles in it because of the color it imparts. Mm-hmm. Right? Lead is a toxic heavy metal, and it blocks thyroid hormone. Mm. Heavy metals block thyroid hormones, right? Mm-hmm. Hair dye, eye makeup, they all have things in them, but we do this every day. I had one lady sit in front of me and say, nope, I do none of that. She had her hair colored, but she was talking about, the air filter in her home. She filters even her shower water. That was extreme. And I thought, wow, you really do everything. And then she picked her hands up and she said, and what else do you want me to do? And I looked at her nails and I was like, you get your nails done, right? Have you smelled those nail places? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Nail polish, formaldehyde, there's all kinds of stuff. And we do these things without thinking. Mm-hmm. Women go to the hairstylist every 6 weeks. I'll tell you, some of my sickest, most difficult patients to treat are hairstylists who carry the most body fat on them that won't go away. Why? They've been breathing this stuff in since they were in training. Mm-hmm. And there are many professions. So let's talk about that. That's why I brought it up. So our daily habits and hobbies, our self-care, our body care, all sources of contamination for toxins that build up in our body's biochemistry. And then there are certain professions like dental hygienists or our nurses, hairstylists, people who work around aircraft. And I mean, these sound esoteric, but there are a lot of people like that. Mm-hmm. Airline stewardesses, right? Like it goes on and on and on. So yes, you sit at a desk, but what do they clean it with and what's in the walls and all of that? But there are some professions. I have a patient who makes jewelry. She solders, she breathes in heavy metal dust. She uses all kinds of chemicals and solvents. I have another patient who does fine art. And she used to paint with a cadmium-rich paint. What about growing up as a child in a smoking household? That was very common. I'm going to date myself again because in the 60s and 70s, everyone smoked, and they smoked in the hospitals, in the cars, in the office, everywhere. So whether you were a smoker or not, if you grew up in the 60s, 70s, and maybe even the early 80s, you could be having much more toxic metal burden and biochemical pollution just from your exposures. Mm-hmm. It's only today that we've taken all these steps to reduce the exposures to people. What about people who love sushi?
Mm-hmm. Parasites.
And heavy metals. Fishes, we have these warnings for pregnant women. Now let's think about this. We tell pregnant women not to eat certain fish more than so many times a week and month. Mm-hmm. So why is it okay for you if you're not pregnant?
Mm-hmm. Right, it's the same idea.
Okay. See how we, in our traditional medical model of thinking, we don't extrapolate it and say, hey, now, but what exactly does that mean? And that's why I practice functional and regenerative medicine, because we our focus is on out-of-the-box thinking. My last patient right before this interview is a nurse. And she said, well, why are you telling me this is abnormal? It's in the range. I said, but do you want to be a low achiever and be right at the bottom of the range, or would you like to be at the, oh, is that what that means? Yes, that's what it means. Some of your hormone levels need to be maximum and on the sort of 75th percentile to make you feel more than awesome. But some of them, you want them to be on the lower end because they're not protective and they're not helpful. So everything's about the range. So going back to our biochemistry, what else? Home care, body care, habits and hobbies, your career, your daily exposures. These are things that people just take for granted. Now I want to bring you to something else. Supplements and medication. Many people take medicine. Some of my patients will use coconut oil and be all natural, but they'll take a Tylenol for their frequent headaches. Right? And that's affecting the biochemistry too. Right? It changes your liver function, and your liver does what? It filters your biochemistry. Your liver enzyme systems are dependent on, well, your liver enzyme systems are, like the one I'm most interested in is called the cytochrome P450 enzyme system. And that has a huge genetic influence. I don't want our viewers and listeners to think that genes are your destiny. Genes are not your destiny. You have more power than ever before to change how your genes express themselves. But that's not what our talk is about. A lot of what I'm teaching about biochemistry affects gene expression, as you know. Right? So when you're improving your biochemistry, you're improving how your genes positively express themselves and protect you rather than hurt you. So that being said, your genes affect your cytochrome system. Your cytochrome system, which is in your liver, filters your biochemistry. At some point, though, there's that tipping point where there's just so many toxins coming in. You know, I've got patients who lived near pulp and paper mills when they were growing up. I've had patients live downstream from mining or textile. I've had patients live in farming communities where they're spraying all these herbicides and pesticides. So you can see that your exposure doesn't have to be something you're thinking about. It could be where you lived, where you grew up, what you exposed yourself to, and then you do one thing extra and your body goes, that's it, too many toxins, I'm going to make fat because all these toxins are affecting. So toxins affect your brain. A toxic biochemistry gives you brain fog. It gives you memory troubles. And how many people come in saying, I need hormones because I'm losing my memory. I'm not sleeping. And I need hormones. And I'm like, you're not sleeping because you have way too many toxins in your biochemistry, from what I can tell, because our intake visit is pretty comprehensive. We're talking to them about where they lived, what they did, like every single thing I've talked to you about, we ask patients at their first visit. And I say, before you start looking for hormones, remember, people taking hormones, that goes into your body's biochemistry. Even the hormones your body makes has to go through your liver, be transformed, and then safely excreted. And if there's anything going on in your liver and it's backed up, you're not even safely eliminating hormones, which is changing your body's biochemistry. Make sense?
Yes.
So it is so complicated. But at some point, your body goes, enough! These are way too many toxins. They're getting to the brain, which is really critical. They're getting into the cellular machinery that makes energy and burns fat. I'm going to just shove you somewhere and get you out of the way so these hormone receptors aren't blocked as much anymore. And so your body creates fat as a storage house for toxins. And these are your people that come in and say, I'm effed. I'm fatigued, It doesn't matter what I do. I can sleep 8-9 hours. I still don't feel great. Doc, I swear I have thyroid trouble. No, your tests are all normal, Joe. Sorry, Teresa, your tests are all normal. Here's an antidepressant because you must be crazy that you think something's wrong with you. That's what people tell me when they come to see me. They say, my tests are all normal. No one can find anything. My research says I have hormone trouble. You're the hormone specialist, doc. I read about you. I know the work. I know what functional medicine is. I know what bioidentical hormones are. I want some. My friend's life changed. She lost so much weight. And I'm like, no, we don't start there. We do not start there. We start at the beginning, which is looking at your biochemistry. So that's why we're teaching everyone about hormones and biochemistry and toxins, because those are so crucial.
Yeah, this makes so much sense.
Right?
So what is someone to do other than avoiding the toxins and the foods and so forth to try and turn this thing around and reverse the situation?
First thing I think that's critical is this understanding. Once you've got all of that, actually two things. One has to be about getting the nutrients in to replete. So let's talk about depletion before we talk about repletion. The act of fat burning requires energy and nutrients. And so people do these crazy diets that restrict calories, which then is restricting nutrients, right? And today I had a patient who said to me, I can't believe it. I'm eating more than ever before. And for the first time, I lost weight and it's staying off. I can't make it come back. This is freaky to me. And I said, I'm so glad we can have this conversation because it's exactly that. To burn fat, you need nutrients and energy. But here's the other thing. To process a toxin out of your body, you need nutrients and energy. To make stress coping hormones or any hormone, you need nutrients and energy. If you have pain, you need nutrients and energy. If you have to get rid of a hormone from your body because you've made it and used it, or I gave it to you, you need nutrients and energy. If you exercise, you do hot yoga, you do your spin class, you go out for a walk, you do all the things that are so good for you, you need nutrients and energy. Can you see that everything you do in a day, you breathe in some pollution, you clean your bathroom, you are using up nutrients and energy. So you're ending up in the state of depletion, and no one has ever come to me optimally repleted. I saw a lady last week on IV vitamin therapies. It's a hard thing to do. I love vitamin nutrients through intravenous administration. They really work because so many people have leaky guts. So many people have trouble with absorption and assimilation that IV is the best way to go. And she's doing that and she's still not repleted. And it's a supply and demand thing, but also knowing what the body needs, and everybody needs different things. So we've caused all these depletions by living our lives, not sleeping, cheating at sleep and self-care and all of those things. So everything I said caused depletions, but not sleeping causes depletions. Being stressed or taking on too much at work causes depletions. Having had childhood trauma, having had a very busy, stressful life, all of these things lead to depletions. And then everyone wants to run out and take supplements. And then they come to me and go, oh, those supplements, they don't work. And I can talk to you for hours on the quality of supplements and how they're processed. And we're not going to do that today. But remember I said, supplements can also toxify your biochemistry if they're filled with preservatives and colorants and things. So know what you're putting in your body, right? But how do you replete? Not everybody has time or money to go for IV vitamins. I guarantee you, you will not get all your vitamins to replete your body to work hard and burn fat and make all your hormones from food alone.
Okay.
Because now, I'm talking about the people that come to me. I'm not talking about those highly functioning, very happy people who figured out what works for them and what doesn't. They're happy, they're healthy, they don't need me. I'm speaking to your audience, our audience, because they have struggles. That's why they're listening to us.
Exactly.
So when you come to me with an issue and you say, I've got stubborn fat that won't go away, I'm effed, I just don't feel good, and now I'm fed up and frustrated, you are not repleted.
Mm-hmm.
And food alone is not enough. So if we want to take in the right supplements and the right food, we still need to think about it in this fashion. I'm going to use a car as the analogy. If your body's a Lamborghini, you want to put premium gas into the Lamborghini.
Mm-hmm.
But you can put premium gas in the tank. It still has to get from the tank to the engine. If the gas doesn't get from the tank to the engine, it doesn't matter how expensive your Lamborghini is, top of the line, mint condition, whatever, it's not going to drive the way you want it to. It's not going to handle those curves. It might not even take off.
Mm-hmm.
And what am I talking about? I'm talking about your gut. And part of my ebook and gift to everyone will cover this whole thing about how to get the gas from the tank to the engine for lasting results. So hopefully that gives us a good framework to use. And now we've got to get the nutrients in. We've got depletions. We've got a toxic biochemistry. We've covered all the 7 or even more things that toxify a biochemistry and that stop you from making hormones. And if you have them, stop you from using them. And we know that this biochemistry and the state of the biochemistry affects how we store fat. And remember that your brain is mostly fat. So when you have mood trouble, you have struggle sleeping, insomnia, that kind of thing, you have focus issues, brain fog, these are all symptoms of a toxic biochemistry as well. And we try to fix it with sleeping pills. You know, nobody was born with a shortage of us. Now in Canada, our names are different. We call it, you have Ambien. So nobody was born with a shortage of Prozac or Ambien, right? Mm-hmm. It's something else that's foundationally wrong. And that's what functional medicine does. It doesn't say, oh, well, let's try and use Prozac and Ambien. I'm sorry, I'm picking on things because I don't know too many American medicine names. But we go, what is wrong at a foundational physiological level that it shows up with all of these things? And sure, if you need to take those things and they help you for now, that's fine. But we still got to find out what is wrong and then put it right. Yes. And that's why, 20 years outside of med school, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my career today, because the science is now being used in a way to look at physiology and biochemistry and help patients restore their performance. And when you do that, the fat goes away unintentionally. Nice. It's a wonderful side effect of reaching great balance.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, this is so fascinating. Thank you. So yeah, getting a good foundational education in this is the first step, is that awareness. And you provided that to us today. Thank you so much. I think, for a lot of people here with us today, it's like finally understanding why the body is creating fat and hanging on to it.
And let's just really hone in on the fact that stress and pain, whether it's emotional or physical, still add to the depletions, and you cannot burn fat if you're in a depleted state. And we have hundreds and hundreds of case studies of real life patients who are finally burning fat while they're eating more and exercising less than ever before.
So you mentioned, Dr. Natasha, that food alone can't replete you. So what else do you need?
What we do is a very comprehensive assessment of our patients. And I like to look at lab testing and that, but we know that there are some basics, right? If you're stressed, if you're in pain, if you're toxic with molecules that are accumulating in your biochemistry. I'm careful with that word toxic. You're toxic, and people get offended. And it's no, it's your biochemistry that's toxic, right? And if you are toxic, it's probably all the toxins in your brain. But, we want patients to take nutrients, although the more toxic in the biochemistry and the more backed up the liver enzyme pathways are, most people find taking vitamins make them quite sick, especially when they're taking a lot of vitamins, or they find that they just don't work. I can't even count how many people say this. We put them on a special combination of certain, very gentle step-by-step different types of vitamins and nutrients that we know will optimize how the liver can work and how the hormones can work and what the basics are. For every person, it's different, but the big ones are your vitamin B, your magnesium, your multivitamin, your probiotics, those types of things. But I advise patients to start with a very high quality, and some of them will say, I can't afford 5 or 6 different bottles of vitamins. You'll find that pharmaceutical grade vitamins restricted to doctors' offices and the whole Better Metabolism line of nutrients, since you've asked, is all pharmaceutical grade in their manufacturing, higher than pharmaceutical grade in their potency. You'll find that most of them are actually more cost effective than what you're buying from the health food store, because there's no marketing and advertising and all of those other things. They're made in very specific batches and made for our patients. But we try not to overload people with too many things. I start all patients on the metabolic optimizer. There's a reason it's called that. It's got the multivitamin, it's got antioxidants, it's got all the leaky gut healing nutrients, it's got anti-inflammatories. Most people are very inflamed. Fat and inflammation go together, stubborn fat, let's say that. There's 11 different benefits to the metabolic optimizer, including being a meal replacement, having a full serving of protein and all of those things. But not everybody has metabolic optimizer in their kitchen cabinet. So I would say to you, start with very high quality B vitamins. We haven't had a chance to talk about methylation and all those types of things. But once I understand if a patient's methylating well or not, then I'll advise them on the type of vitamin B to take. So we typically will recommend it after speaking with a patient. And I do have screening tools for our clients as well that we'll use. And they're just in the form of questionnaires. So I'll include that in our gift to everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you. Wow. Okay. So this is just such great information. We really appreciate you giving us this education. Is there anything else that you want to touch on before I have you mention your free gift?
Food sensitivities. That is a huge aspect of stubborn fat. Patients don't like to believe that they have to stop eating their favorite foods. And often in my experience, now this functional medicine clinic has been here 11 plus years. I didn't understand in my first 10 years of medicine why patients loved certain food and just couldn't stop it, and at that time food addiction wasn't a big thing, because I graduated in the 90s. It might have been, but it wasn't in my world. I was focused on ER and then women's health and then obstetrics, and then you just don't get exposed to all of these because medicine is so compartmentalized. But in functional medicine now, it's fascinating how the things that you love and you will not stop, whether it's your cheese or your yogurt or your bread or your, people have their things and they go, I'm not stopping that. If you ever think that, that is the thing you need to stop.
Yes.
Right? Like that is the thing you need to start with. which is the hardest, because when your body chemistry is burning out and your brain chemistry is burning out, it's harder to have the willpower. So that's another area of fat burning I didn't even get to because I knew our time was limited. But, we look at brain chemistry, the Better Metabolism line, and the whole Better Metabolism program has brain chemistry attention placed on it, because we know that when your body chemistry drops, your brain chemistry drops, and it affects cravings and all of those things. However, that being said, food sensitivities and cravings go together. Food sensitivities and stubborn fat go together. But what I think, and I hope this came out, because I feel so pressured when people say stick to your topic, because all day today working with patients, the first thing I say is put your personalized report aside. We give everyone a guide of their results, and we're going to report for them. I say put it aside, because nothing that I'm going to tell you is in a section on its own. Just because cholesterol is in this section, it's going to be in multiple other sections. Just because, your cortisol is here doesn't mean it's not affecting your metabolism.
Right.
So everything affects everything else. And if there's anything I hope that came out from today, is that health is a tangled web of everything being interconnected. And there's no one thing that solves everything. So if somebody says, pop this pill, this, what was that, green coffee bean extract, or Garcinia, blah, blah, blah. You know what? No. Have you tried it? Yes, it might work for about this amount of time, in that amount of time that you've been trying things, and then it stops and you're back at square one. Start with the basics and go step by step, and know that everyone's different. Everyone needs different combinations of things, and that everything's an interconnected web that we piece apart. Tease it apart and then fix each, right? And then we have maximum health.
Thank you. Okay, so the 7 steps to maximize your metabolism are?
Oh dear, I think I came up with more than 7 for you now, right?
Let's have a recap. And maybe there's more than 7.
So we talked about the hormones of metabolism, and I haven't elucidated, and there are so many. Thanks for limiting me to this amount of time so we don't get to it. And then there's all the things that affect your biochemistry. Those were my 7 things, right? So we're starting with body care, hair care, your environment inside and outside your home. We're talking about habits. We're talking about hobbies. We're talking about medication. We're talking about food. There's 7 already, but there's so many other things that we talked about.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you covered so much, and I don't want to stop you, but I also want to. It's all
in the book. So we're going to, because the 7 things were dedicated to biochemistry. There's still the hormones, the depletions, the repletions. So I will summarize all of that, and then you'll have little video links to me teaching you in greater depth on each of those things through that gift that I've got.
Okay, great. I'm super excited to share this information with everyone, and I'll have a link to Dr. Natasha's free gift. So make sure you take advantage of that. And thank you so much, Dr. Natasha Iyer, for being here with us today on the Cutting Edge Convention.
Thank you for having me, Marcy. It's been an absolute pleasure.
For us too. And to everyone here today, thank you for taking part in the convention. And I'm wishing you a happy, healthy day. Bye for now.
Thank you for being part of the Cutting Edge Convention. We don't want you to miss a single valuable session. To have the entire event available to you at any time, purchase the package now before the event ends. That's when the price goes up. And watch your emails to get your next steps from Marcy.